Hey, it's Mark Wahlberg. Welcome to Click TV.
Welcome to Click TV.
Mr. Antoine Fuqua, great to meet you.
Great to meet you.
Well, listen, as an action movie fan, I firstly wanted to thank you very much for making, firstly, a great action film, but also a really violent action film, because I missed them. So thank you for all the great kills.
You're welcome.
How much fun is it to come up with those?
They're fun. It's fun to come up with them. It's shocking sometimes, you know. Denzel always cracks jokes. He goes, "You're a sick man," but you know, it's not. Most of it comes out of meeting with guys who do that for a living, as far as battle, war, Navy SEALs, SAS, those type of guys,
Yeah.
and discussing what they would do in a room like that, or what they would possibly use if they had to. And basically everything is a weapon as far as they're concerned. There's nothing off limits, you know. And they know the human anatomy better than most of us, so they know all of our soft spots.
Are those conversations kind of scary?
Yeah, but they're fun. They're great guys. Get a beer, man, and hang out and talk, and you know they'll start telling you some things that will scare you.
Well, how do you decide then on screen how far to push the violence? Because obviously you knew this was going to be R-rated, but there's levels to that.
That's right. Well, I wasn't doing it to be gratuitous or anything, or to. What I was doing it for was to inform you of who he was. You know, it's easy for him to get a gun and just start shooting everybody. We've seen that before, but it doesn't tell you much about him. This guy who's so quiet and reads books and compassionate, humble man can be extremely brutal. And that tells you more about him than I could ever, or a writer could write.
Yeah.
You know, and that adds more mystery for the rest of the movie of, first of all, where did he learn to do that? and how brutal is he?
Yeah.
You know, so that's why it's that way.
Well, you've only actually finished one PG-13 movie, and that was not by accident, but not your intent. Are you just, is this your style to make?
King Arthur?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for not saying it, though.
I didn't say the but it's just your style to make a movie that's for a higher age limit, I suppose.
Yeah, you know, it's just that if I read a script and it has violence in it, it's really hard for me to like wrap my brain around how not to make it feel closer to a reality for me. If I read a script, I mean, I have children, so if I read a script that says PG and I sign up for that movie, then I really want to make it PG, not almost PG.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's right. And I think that, you know, allowing young kids to see violence, but just because it has a little less blood than this one, I think that's...
Yeah, people are still being killed, so it's kind
yeah, you know what I mean? I have a little issue with that, so...
Well, you're also known for your visuals as a music video director growing up. When you look at a script, was the script quite bare bones? Did you have to accentuate the visuals yourself? Did you invent those things?
Yeah, I mean, it was a well-written script by Richard Wink, no question. But I always come up with my own style of doing things, you know what I mean? That's what a director does. Is you just, and I came up with a lot of the killing and stuff. And Denzel had ideas as well. We would kick stuff around. And Richard, we would just talk. But for me, visually, yeah, it starts speaking to me. You know what I mean? I now sit and do storyboards and sketch stuff out, and it starts to speak to me, yeah.
It's the same for the action scenes then. Will he say, like, he kills 5 people, and then you have to figure out how that happens, or was it more specific?
Yeah, no, you know, a lot of times in the script it says, like, you know, you said he kills 5 people in the most amazing way. Yeah, like...
How do I like that?
Okay. Something you've never seen before. You're like, whew, okay. But yeah, then I start thinking about the situation, and most importantly, I start thinking about what's the story I'm telling you within the action. You know, it's like a dialogue scene for me. What is the story I'm telling, and what lenses? Because it's all one entity for me. And then it's like, okay, in the middle of an action scene, at the end of it, rather, what did you learn from that action scene? You know, outside of the brutality, what did it tell you?
You've got a thing that some people call kind of Equalizer vision. I mean, that's something that's quite unique to this film. How did you just technically choose, I suppose, lenses and frame rates and things like that to make that consistent?
A lot of it came out of talking to doctors and people like that. I spoke to a few doctors. I spoke to I just happened to go to the eye doctor because I do the physical, and he was doing the thing with my eye and all that stuff, looking in, and I said, what happens when people get excited? I mean, I wanted to hear it from a medical point of view, and he was talking about the pupils dilating or opening up. And what I discovered is that the men of violence who live in our world find comfort in violence, right? So comfort in chaos is what they call it. So they're trained. You know, one guy told me he gets waking up in the morning when they're in boot camp with bombs going off. That's how they wake you up, just so you get used to that, so your body doesn't jump, because that split second can get you killed. So for them, they calm. You know, the pupils actually open a little bit more, to more light gets in, and everything becomes a little sharper, and they're thinking like split seconds. So I said, how do you do that in film? So I said, well, let's see it from the inside out. Let's make it more internal. And then I started trying to visualize how to shoot that and what that might look like. You know, hyper reality, obviously it's a movie, but in split seconds. And in my own memory of situations I've been in, you know, whether it be a bar fight or, you know, I was shot when I was a kid. You know, like, in your memory, everything's vivid and it's fast, but you remember little pieces. I remember when I got shot, I remember more than anything was being put in the paramedics and looking out the back window and seeing telephone poles just going and red lights and green lights because you go through the lights. But I don't remember the details of who was working on me or anything. You know what I mean? So your memory is a little different. And in the middle of when your heart's racing and it's something that serious, those guys do the opposite. They remember the details because they have to do reports later.
That's crazy.
Right? They remember what happened exactly. So that's kind of scary.
Well, Denzel came on to this movie before you, as far as I know. What was the script like when you came on? Did you work with it for a long time afterwards?
Yeah, he came on before me, and then I brought what I could bring to the table. You know, I sat and talked to Richard Wink a lot. We spent a lot of time together discussing characters, and spent a lot of time, me and Denzel, in the room. And I would bring my ideas and my thoughts. And when I read Boston, I immediately, because I see it all as one entity. Boston's a character. What is Boston? Boston has secrets. It's got, you know, the Irish gangsters. It's got the Russian gangsters. It's got ports. Anytime you got a major city with ports, something illegal is going on there. I can guarantee you that. And then Chloe Moretz, you know, the young prostitute, that became a big part of it because her being younger actually puts more pressure on McCall and actually justifies what he does to these individuals for being such sick people.
Well, there's not really a huge amount of connection to the old TV show. I mean, do you think there's really much point in people even trying to seek that out before they see the film, or any parallels or anything?
Sure, because it's about a man doing the right thing. It's about a man with special skills helping people who can't help themselves. That's what I remember the most about The Equalizer. Right? It wasn't so much the format of the show or the color of his skin or anything. It was the deed. And so for me, it's the deed that matters. And so if you imagine Edward even, I think the show started off when he was already the Equalizer. He just started to do things. But maybe it evolved from something in this, you know, a guy, maybe Edward was trying to work in a regular store somewhere. Maybe he was trying. And then he figured out what his calling was. And so the TV show was about us jumping right in to where he was already the guy with the Jaguar and he had a certain style. He had it all set up. Where this guy is just he's just discovering of his calling. So I always saw parallels in that. I said, who knows where it started? It could be the seed of it.
Well, you talked about the movie being kind of grounded, but you also need to make a film that's fun. So
Yeah.
how do you find the balance then between entertaining, like the massive explosion, I suppose, in the film,
Yeah.
and making the violence maybe a bit more realistic in some way?
Well, I just make sure that everything that can be done, everything that happened could be done in some form. You know, whether it can be done in 19 seconds or 16 seconds remains to be seen. There are some individuals that, you know, walk this earth that are some pretty badasses. I'm not one of them, you know. So that I think grounds it, because something about your instinct tells you, okay, those things can be used. Yeah, that makes sense, because there's nothing that you go, oh, that doesn't make sense to me. You know, this is a soft spot. If you know, if you take something hard and puncture that, I mean, you're doing damage to the brain, internal bleeding. So all those things make sense. So first, I start from the ground saying, what's real? And then how do I make it hyper real a little bit and add a little entertainment to it so it's still fun for the audience.
And there's real franchise potential here. What would you like to see McCall do next?
Oh, I'd love to see him go international. Yeah, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't. I mean, Edward went international.
Sure.
Came to New York. So I would love to see him, eventually Robert McCall, wind up somewhere else in the world.
And very quickly, you've got Magnificent Seven on the way. Do you have anything planned yet? What role will Denzel Washington have?
The lead role.
Okay.
The one, I guess you could say the Yul Brynner role.
Sure.
Because he was the lead guy in that movie. Yeah. And I'm editing Southpaw with Jake Gyllenhaal right now. So I'm in the middle of editing that
Sounds
right
great.
now. So
Great. Brilliant to talk to you.
yeah, good talking to you.
Thanks,
Thank you. Man.